The smallest North African country, Tunisia is located at the eastern end of the Maghreb, the northern tip of Africa, forming a wedge of territory between Algeria and Libya. Tunisia was the site of ancient Carthage and, as the province of Ifriqiya, or Africa Minor, was a keystone of Arab and Turkish empires in North Africa. France established a protectorate over Tunisia in 1883 and granted independence in 1956. Since 1957, Tunisia has been governed as a constitutional republic. It has followed an independent course among the Arab nations of North Africa and the Middle East. Area 63,170 square miles, 163,610 square kilometers. Population 2020 est. 11,870,000. Land and people. In the north of Tunisia, the Atlas Mountains separate into two chains. The northern Tell are lower, with elevations of about 1,000 to 3,000 feet 300 to 900 meters. The mountains follow the coast, extending almost to Tunis. The High Tell, an extension of the Saharan Atlas of Algeria, are more extensive and rugged. De Jebel Chambi, near the Algerian border, reaches an elevation of 5,066 feet 1,544 meters. The Medjarda River valley separates the mountain chains. The Medjarda, which is the only constant stream in Tunisia, flows into the Gulf of Tunis. Northern Tunisia has a Mediterranean climate. Rainfall averages from 16 to 39 inches 40 to 100 centimeters annually and falls in the warm winter months. Summers are hot and dry. Cork oak and evergreen oak forests cover the wetter and more remote slopes of the northern Tell Mountains. As a result of widespread deforestation from overgrazing and fuel gathering, as well as sparse rainfall, scrub bushes and grasses are the most common vegetation. The mean annual rainfall at Tunis is 22.5 inches (57.2 centimeters) and the temperature 64 degrees Fahrenheit (18 degrees Celsius). In central Tunisia, an extensive plateau slopes gradually eastward from the High Tell to the coastal plain. The high steppes are broad alluvial basins separated by low mountains, and the low steppes to the east are a flat, gravel-covered plateau. The Isle of Jerba is located in the Gulf of Gabes, also Kabis, near Zarzis, also Jarjis. Rainfall averages from 8 to 16 inches 20 to 40 centimeters annually and falls during the winter months. After heavy rains, wadis contain intermittent streams that drain into sebkas, or salt flats, on the coastal plain, where water evaporates. The steppes have sparse, drought-resistant scrub vegetation. South of the steppes, an extensive depression contains three seasonal chats, or salt lakes. The Chat el Jarid, also Chat al Jarid, is the largest. The Chat el Garsa, which is 75 feet 23 meters below sea level, and the Chat el Fejej are much smaller. During the winter, rainfall drains into the chats and evaporates, leaving a thick salt crust on the surface. Tunisia extends southward into the Sahara, where the flat-topped Monts de Sour separate the Djeffara coastal plain from a sandy lowland that is partially covered by sand dunes of Algeria's Grand Erg Oriental. The hot arid climate produces less than 8 inches 20 centimeters of rainfall annually. Underground water supplies support permanent settlement at scattered oases. Elsewhere, large areas have no permanent vegetation. The mean annual rainfall at Gabes is only 7.3 inches (18.5 centimeters) and the temperature 66.7 degrees Fahrenheit (19.3 degrees Celsius). The majority of the Tunisian people live in urban areas. The rural population is concentrated in rich agricultural lands of the northeast and the Sahel. Arabic is the official language. French is taught as a second language and is widely used in commerce and government. Islam is the state religion. About 97% of the people are Sunni Muslims. Berber minorities live in a few isolated communities in southern Tunisia. About 78% of the adult population is literate. Primary and secondary education is compulsory. The University of Tunis, founded in 1960, is in Tunis. Economy: about 1/5 of Tunisia's labor force is employed in agriculture. Wheat, barley, corn, maize, oats, and sorghum are the main cereal crops. Grapes, oranges, and figs are grown on Cape Bon and near Tunis and Bizerte. Olive groves are located on the Sahel near Sfax, also Safakas. Although the size of the harvest varies, Tunisia usually is the world's fourth largest producer of olive oil. Dates are grown at Gafsa, Nefta, Tozeur, and other oases in southern Tunisia. About 1/3 of Tunisia's land is under cultivation. Most crops are grown by dry farming methods. Agricultural production varies widely, primarily because of erratic rainfall and outdated farming methods. Tunisia has had to import cereals, as demand exceeded domestic production. Periodic droughts and sporadic rainfall often jeopardize harvests. Much of the country's most recent agricultural changes have focused on irrigation schemes, well and dam construction, and programs to prevent soil erosion and desertification. Tunisia is rich in petroleum and phosphates. Petroleum was first discovered in 1964 at El Bourma, near the Algerian border in southern Tunisia. By the early 1990s, nearly a dozen deposits, including some in the Gulf of Gabes, were being exploited. Natural gas production has been significantly increased, and foreign investment has been encouraged in the sector. Tunisia's industries provide a quarter of the domestic income, almost twice that of agriculture. Tunis is the major industrial center. Other cities have specialized industries. Food and textiles remain the major components of the manufacturing base. Also important are mechanical and electromechanical equipment and chemicals. The chemical industry depends on processing phosphate rock into fertilizer and phosphoric acid. Tunisia is one of the world's largest producers of phosphates. They are mined from several deposits in central Tunisia. 1/3 is exported, and the remainder is used by domestic chemical industries. Other major mineral resources are zinc, lead, barite, and iron. Tunis is the capital and largest city, with a population of about 745,000. It is linked by canal to the principal port of Halk el Oued, in French, La Goulette, on the Gulf of Tunis. Sfax is the second largest city and port. Sousse, Bizerte, and Gabes are smaller cities, each with port facilities. Kairouan and Gafsa are regional centers. The transportation system is well developed, with about 11,800 miles (19,000 kilometers) of surfaced roads and about 1,300 miles (2,100 kilometers) of railways. Tunisia has numerous airports that handle international flights. History and government. Ancient Tunisia was a Phoenician colony. By the mid-5th century BC, Carthage controlled commerce in the central Mediterranean. Carthage became part of the Roman Empire and was included in the Byzantine Empire after the Vandals took the city in AD 439. Arabs expanded into North Africa in the mid-7th century. Kairouan, founded in 670, became a permanent base of military operations against the Berbers and a center of Muslim influence. Islam spread rapidly among the Berbers. In 698 the Arabs took Carthage and established Tunis. Ifriqiya, or Africa Minor, as Tunisia was called, was a province of Arab and Muslim empires through the 15th century. The Normans controlled Tunis from 1148 to 1160. After a brief period of Moroccan rule, Ifriqiya was once again incorporated into empires ruled from Baghdad and Cairo. Berber families, however, controlled provincial governments. Spanish and Ottoman Turks battled for control of Tunisia in the early 16th century. The Ottomans ended Spanish rule in 1574, and Tunisia became a Barbary state. After a brief period of direct rule, the Ottomans recognized the de facto independence of Tunisia. It was ruled as a monarchy by beys and deys, who were officers of the Ottoman occupation forces. After France occupied Algeria, Tunisian affairs came under the control of France, Great Britain, and Italy. Tunisia became a French protectorate in 1883. Although the monarchy continued, France controlled the government. Large-scale colonization by French and Italian settlers on nationalized land brought the best agricultural land under European control. The Tunisian independence movement began in 1920, when the Destor, or Constitution, party called for a self-governing constitutional regime with an elected legislature. In 1934 the Neo-Destor, or New Constitution, party, which was led by lawyer Habib Bourguiba, revived the nationalist movement. In 1950 France instituted political reforms designed to give Tunisia internal autonomy and cooperation with France. Independence was granted on March 20, 1956, and Bourguiba became prime minister. After the National Assembly abolished the monarchy on July 25, 1957, Bourguiba was named head of state. French military forces finally left Tunisia in June 1962. In May 1964 Tunisia expropriated all French-owned land and distributed it to landless peasants. A constitution adopted in 1959 provided for the election of the legislature and the president every 5 years by direct universal suffrage. After Bourguiba was re-elected in 1964, 1969, and 1974, he was proclaimed president for life in 1975 and held office until November 1987, when he was ousted on the grounds of senility. The peaceful takeover was engineered by Zine El Abidine Ben Ali, whom Bourguiba had named prime minister a month earlier. Ben Ali was officially elected president in 1989 with no opposition, and he was re-elected in 1994, 1999, 2004, and 2009, each time by an overwhelming margin. Early on Ben Ali promised to transition the country to democracy. Disillusionment soon set in, however, as his electoral reforms failed to transfer power away from the president or his party. In addition, the government was criticized for its abuse of human rights. In late 2010 and early 2011 Tunisian police violently suppressed protesters demonstrating against high unemployment, poverty, and political repression. On January 14 a state of emergency was declared, and reports surfaced stating that the government had been dissolved and that legislative elections would be held in the next 6 months. The announcement failed to settle the unrest, however, and Ben Ali stepped down as president. Prime Minister Mohamed Ghannouchi assumed power. Disorder continued, with many objecting to the participation of politicians from Ben Ali's regime in the interim government.